re-immersed in love. It's flooding through us. It's surrounding us. It's everywhere. Our heart is our connection to God, to the very existence of each other and the whole universe. We're avatars that come here on earth to experience this, to forget who we are.
So if you'd like to just go ahead and share your story in as much detail as you want and whatever you want to share.
Okay. All right. Well, I had a near-death experience in about 2015 in March. There were some things that were going on in my life at the time that I can look back and really see how everything was just kind of divine timing, like unfolding. In my human awareness, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but now looking back, if we really look back in our lives, everything was leading up to something greater. It may not have looked like it, but it really is and always is and has been. So at that time in my life, I was in a relationship and my childhood was being triggered. I was in and out of orphanages, foster homes, adopted 3 times. And so my childhood was very traumatic. And I had done a lot of meditation leading up to this particular event. So I knew that I was being triggered and I thought I was being able to handle it, but it was very intense. And the relationship was building up all this anger and frustration leading up to this. And I just felt like I was going to blow my top. And I wasn't used to being like that. I just felt like I couldn't handle it. And on top of this, at this time, my girlfriend had sent me an article the night before my near death. It was actually, I had died from a heart attack. So at the time, I'm with my boyfriend and she's giving me this article and it's about adoptions. And it's time I was adopted and 65 was the first one when I was 6 months old. My biological parents were now required, if they were still living, and any of my family were required to register at the state for my awareness. And that just felt really overwhelming to me. I was 50 years old and now just the thought of that just felt so overwhelming. So the night before my heart attack, I'm at a poker tournament and I'm just starting to feel not right. Something's going on. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but I was feeling really anxious and things weren't feeling right. So I went home, went to bed, and my boyfriend had stayed all night because he was getting up to go to work in the morning. Well, I fell asleep in a dream so vivid as if I was there. And it was Jesus on the cross. The Romans were pounding a very thick Roman nail crossing his legs and just pounding it through his ankles. And I just felt all this excruciating pain for him. I just felt like I was him. And I woke up uncontrollably sobbing, grief-stricken, that another human being could literally do this to somebody. I mean, it didn't matter, but it was Jesus on the cross that I just felt all this grief and pain and suffering. It was flooding through me and I was hysterically crying. I just couldn't believe that humans could do such evil things. And that's kind of where it started. Well, not really started, but began to unfold. And I got up as the day went along, my girlfriend comes over to my house and drops off this article. And I didn't read it, just left it on the table. We sat down, started talking about my childhood. And it began. I started feeling chest pains. I was uncontrollably shivering. as I continued to talk, she just listening. And I'm like, I got to lay down. I'm not feeling good at all. And she goes upstairs to get my heating blanket and puts my feet up. I'm literally, at this point, I know something's going on. I'm surrendered on the floor in a cross position and can't do anything. I'm in so much pain. And now I'm going in and out of consciousness. And I'm feeling Jesus on the cross. And I'm surrendered. I don't know exactly what's happening, but she was an assistant nurse in assistant living. So she kind of had an idea what was going on. As she's calling my boyfriend, I go to grab the phone from her and I'm paralyzed. I cannot move. And now I'm really kind of freaked out. Like, oh my God, what's going on? And at this time, I'm going in and out of consciousness. I'm in the pain. And then as the pain leaves, I'm in this bliss, indescribable bliss. Waves of bliss and peace are just washing over me. And I can hear my boyfriend on the phone as she laid it down on a pillow by my ear. I can hear him, but I'm not sure if he can hear me. I think I'm talking, but I'm not sure. And so I tell him, just hold on a minute, because there's this bliss and this peace washing over me, this indescribable bliss and peace that I've never experienced in any kind of meditation. And I have this thought, I wonder if that's what drug users are trying to get to, like this euphoric bliss. And I'm well aware that the pain is coming in and then the bliss is coming in. I'm in and out. Then I notice I'm starting to go in and out of my body. Like I'm everywhere. I'm inside my body and then I'm out of my body. I can see myself and then I'm everywhere. I can see her in the kitchen on the phone and I was mesmerized by it. But I was like, okay. I was kind of like trying to hold on to the bliss and the peace, like, hold on. And then the pain would come back. It was mesmerizing. And I was fascinated by it as the pain was coming and going. And I was like, it's coming and going and I'm not fighting it. I'm totally aware of it all. And my girlfriend, she's all hysterical, telling me I'm crazy and talking about Jesus. And she doesn't understand what's going on with me internally. So she's freaking out. I hear her say, I need to go take my blood pressure medicine. And I could feel all of her emotion. And I just wanted her to leave me alone. But she was like going to call the ambulance. And she knows I'm not a big fan of doctors. So when I was paralyzed, I asked her, I knew something was happening. I couldn't say at the time that I knew I was dying, but I knew I was having an experience for sure. And so I could see her, how hysterical and freaked out she was, that she was trying to call the ambulance. And I knew in that moment that as I was experiencing it all, that I had to just be with it and let it unfold. And I heard a voice say, lay there and take it. And it was a soft voice, but I knew I needed to lay there and take it and allow the experience to unfold. I knew that. And so now it was my job to communicate that with her as she's hysterical. And so I remember just looking at her and saying, I know, can you be okay that we don't understand what's going on here, but can you just allow it to unfold? And can you be okay with that? And then I let her have her say, I don't understand why you don't want to call the medics. And I really just, if I was going to die, I didn't want anybody around me hysterical, I just knew that I was in an experience and I wanted to allow it to unfold. So I said, I need you to look at me, because she's looking down at the phone, trying to call. I need you to look at me. I can't move. I'm paralyzed, but my mouth's still able to move somehow, which was very fascinating to me. I was still able to talk. My body was shutting down, but my mouth, my communication center was still operating in that moment. And I got her to understand that I'm not afraid to die. Would you please just, my last wish, would you please honor it? As my friend, can you honor that? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. So she left. She left my apartment and I felt like a little kid, like, yes, I got it. All by my, it was like a kid, a parent leaving a house. Yes, I'm free. And it went dark, blackness was all I saw. It was like I had left. And then I started seeing all these shadows and just shadows, moving, dancing shadows. And I could see a shadow of somebody I knew that I had hurt when I was young. And the shadow was hurt. And I could feel the intense hurt and pain that it caused this person. And I could feel it. And as I was experiencing it, feeling it, this energy started moving back and forth between the shadow and myself and my relationship with myself at that time in the darkness, a speck of the universe in that moment. I was feeling the energy of this person that I had hurt, which was just showing up as a shadow, but the energy was hurt and pain. And the circular energy was in motion up back and forth, showing me what I had given to this person was hurt and pain. And I was experiencing the hurt and pain back to me. Then I was giving this give and receive. And as this circular energy was back and forth, showing me back and forth. And I was like, oh my God, this is the giving and the receiving. I gave it out and I'm receiving it back, but I'm feeling exactly what I sent out. And I got it so clearly that I was like, this is not what I was taught on earth, giving and receiving, but it's actually the energy, the hurt that I sent out to this person and gave to this person. I was not escaping it. I was getting it right back. I was feeling guilt on top of it for sending it. And it was just like, inspiring, like, wow, okay, I got it. And as soon as I would get something, there was like 5 elements in my near death. There were like 5 wisdoms that I was given. And when I had talked with the ions, they had shared with me that I couldn't understand why I didn't see the light, why I didn't see things that other people talk about. And mine apparently was spiritual wisdom. I needed that at this time in my life and was shown it, dying and coming back. So at this time, the next wisdom came and I was surrounded and immersed in blackness, but I was an I, and I was the I am awareness. And I knew this. I knew that the only moment there was now, the ever present moment. Always happening, always here, now. And everything was basically surrounding me as I'm immersed in the now. And this blackness was perfection, the void, the stillness, the blackness of existence of everything, yet nothing. I received that this is the place where Jesus created miracles, where everything is perfect, where we have everything. Everything is already here. There's nothing lacking in this space. There's nothing lacking. Everything is already here. We are perfect in design, created in the image God. And I knew this. I felt this in every fiber of my being. The now, the I am, is here always. I am that. And as soon as I knew that, the next experience came. I began to be immersed and engulfed in this liquid golden love. It held me. It surrounded me. encircled me, like just kept going round and round. And it was the best way I could describe it. It was, I call it liquid golden love. And it just held me in an indescribable love. And it just held me as I was afraid. It held me, and I became curious about it because it's like, what is this? Is this God? Yes, I was given. Yes, this is God. This is love. This is light. This is me. Yes, you are the light of the world. Let your light shine. God is love. All these Bible verses began to come to me. Don't hide your light. And the love just held me. It held me in an indescribable embrace. And it just continued to hold me. The more it held me, the more at peace I felt. It held all my memories. It held all my beliefs, all the things I did to someone, everything that they did to me that was hurtful. And it just continued to hold me. And the more it held me, the more curious I got. And it was like, it's like it knows me. It knows what I need. I need to be held. It surrounded me, and it just continued to flow around me. And then the more peaceful I felt, it started to flow through me, like in a figure 8. And it just was merging with everything inside of me, around me, and it became me. And it just immersed itself so completely. I merged with it. And I knew I am that. And I knew that everything was resolved. All my emotional stuff, everything was resolved. And then as soon as that happened, then I was shown the expansiveness of the universe. I was it all. Everything existed, has always existed within me, and always has been. I've always been connected to it. There was no separation. Everything was one, and I was a part of it. I was a holographic part of the one. It was so beautiful and indescribable to see that I was the expansiveness and the oneness. There was no separation. There was no separation between me, anyone, anything. And once I got that, I began to see these shadows that were dancing. And I was like, that's interesting. What is that? Curiosity. Boom. It stops in a movie reel. As the movie reel is in front of me, or from my perspective, I see these shadows, and I hear these loud screams of no, no. I hear a baby crying, and it's so loud, and I can see these shadows of these people. One was a woman with a baby on her hip, about 6 months old. I saw a man. It was a shadow. And I asked, who is this? Why am I seeing this? And I was given, it was me when I was 6 months old, and it appeared to be somebody from Children's Services and my biological mother. And then I was curious because all this no, like all this resistance to what was in the moment, I had this revelation. Oh my God, I've been doing that my whole entire life, screaming no, no, crying no. And it was so obvious to me what I had been doing my whole life. I was like, oh my gosh, what if I said yes to my whole life experiences of my childhood and the way that my life had been, any abuse, all of the things that I wanted to change, fix, and control were all that up to 50 years old. And when I saw that, I wanted to change and make it all different. And I didn't like any of my life. It was such a revelation that when I asked, I wonder if I'd have said yes to my whole life growing up and all my life experiences, would I have had a different life? Would I had a different experience? And it was such a strong revelation of yes, it would have been a totally different experience in life. And I was so profoundly like, wow. It was like the big secret of the universe. And I heard this big loud click in my head, in my brain. And all of a sudden I was back in my body. I was packed. Before this, I could see my girlfriend on her way back over to my apartment. I could see outside, inside. And now I know she's coming through the door as I'm patting my body down, going, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm sitting up, freaking out like I'm alive. And she's like hysterical, like, what's going on? Oh my God, sit down here. I got to share it with you. No, she's mad. I don't want to hear anything about it. You don't know what you did to me. Is all that. I did it to her. She didn't really want to hear too much about it. So I tried to share it with her the best I could and listen to her and what her experience was. Anyway, later I was able to ask her some things about how long I had been out and how long was she gone. And it ended up being her father had died of a heart attack in her arms. And she already knew I was having a heart attack, and she knew, and she related that to her father dying. And she didn't want her friend to die, but she wasn't in control of it. There's so much more after that. And it's been 7 years, just like after the IONS. Yeah, I could just go on and on. There was a lot of events that happened. I came back. When I came back, I was very suicidal. I was in shock. What I saw in the life as it was back on Earth for me didn't match. I was in hell on Earth, and I had no understanding of how to implement or digest and bring that into my life experience on Earth, because life on Earth was hell. I felt like I just got shot back to hell. But why? Why am I here? Why'd I come back? I lost everything I had. House-wise, I couldn't really work. I was pretty fit, but I couldn't even walk across the room for a period of time. I was sluggish. I was out of it. I mentally and emotionally, I was in shock. I asked my friend to take me to a mental hospital. Not really. I didn't really want to go, but it was so funny, his response. He was the only person around me that would listen to me and could somewhat understand. And he said, no, I'm not taking you. They're never going to let you out. We both had a big belly laugh. I was like, yep, you're probably right. They're going to think I'm really crazy. But when I realized, okay, I need help. I was always superwoman in my life. And I realized I needed help. I raised my son by myself. I grew up believing that I couldn't depend on anyone, couldn't trust anyone. So I took life on all by myself. To trust someone meant hurt and pain to me, and I didn't want to go there. So now I'm starting to realize, okay, I came back for a reason. Why did I come back? Well, I really want to die. I want to go back to where I came from. I don't know why I'm here on Earth, but I had a little feeling I knew, because when that love held me and it embraced and held me and all that I was feeling, I had a sense that that's what I am to do for myself, and that's what I'm to do for another. And that's truly loving, unconditional love. And I knew this. How I was going to get there was beyond me. I had no understanding, or that was the last 7 years I've come to understand that. So I decided, well, if I'm going to live on this earth, there's got to be a way. I've got to work it out. I lost everything I had materially. My son had just had a baby, and he was kind of out on his own. So I literally, as some people said, I didn't have a pot to piss in this physical world. And as I see now, I was stripped down. And as I was stripped down physically, I was staying at a girlfriend's house, and she was able to listen to me, but there's no way she could understand what I experienced. But I realized I was going to kill myself. I wanted to go back to this place. Yet I knew also there was a reason I came back. And maybe it was just my job to find out why I came back. So I decided to find something on the internet. Is there somebody else that's had this experience? What is it? And lo and behold, I'm in Ohio, and I found a group called IANS, International Association with Near-Death Experiences. And I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe this person or organization can help me. So I reached out to a woman who runs the organization, and there's an organization right in Columbus, Ohio, 35 years. And I reached out to her, and she said, okay, you need to come and share your story. You need to feel support and know that there's other people that will hear you and listen to you and even understand you. It's like, okay, all right, just give me a little time. I'll write it out, because it was so fresh. I had all this love in my heart. I could still feel the love around me, but I had nothing in the physical world, nothing. I call her a girlfriend, but she was really associate. But it really opened my eyes to who we call friends. And my boyfriend had left me. Everything was gone. My son wasn't around. He had basically went out on his own. So it helped me understand our hearts and who's really available for us. And it helped me to start becoming available for myself, even though I didn't have the physical distractions around me. I didn't have bills to pay at that time, really. Everything got stripped down. So all I had was the love in my heart, and I could still feel the intense love surrounding me. And I got curious with it. Has that love always been there all the time? And we're just too busy in life to feel it, to know it. And so I got really curious. Like, why are we not feeling this love? And so as the years would go by, I would write out I would go and share with IANS, and it helped me tremendously overcome my suicide feelings. I was okay with being here. Now let me find out why I'm here. And the love would show me and guide me. And so I went to IANS twice, the first time to share, and the second one, they had like a picnic, and I just felt like I had received all that I needed. And it was about internal curiosity, investigation within myself and that relationship with love. And so that would unfold. And I had asked IANS a lot of questions like, what happened? How long does this take to go back to normal? Well, you're never going to go back to normal because you've had a huge shift in energy. And when I came back, it just was so shocking. It felt like I got struck by lightning, zoomed out of this dimension into another one, and came back to this dimension. And somehow I had to learn to digest the wisdom I received. And for probably a year and a half afterwards, I was still receiving all of this wisdom. I would write things down and really just be with them. And it was good that I didn't have all the physical distractions, that I could do this. And the place where I was staying, of course, there's judgment that I'm not working or I'm not participating in the physical reality, but I was. It was just what I needed, that rest and that. So IANS was very helpful in helping me understand that not everyone sees the light, because that's not what I needed. I needed this wisdom, and I needed to share this wisdom, and I needed to know it and integrate it into my own life before I could help someone else in their life. And so the last 7 years has been that process. And boy, it's been quite a ride of unfolding into the beautiful expansiveness of all that we are, and resting in the love that we are, and allowing all the emotions that we feel to be held as they are without pushing and pulling. And that's one of the things when I died and when I left my body and it went black, I could feel my grasping and my clinging to life disappear. And I knew when I saw the I am that that's the place that we're doing that. Our mind is so conditioned to try and hold on to things and grasp and cling or push. And all of that was dissolved and resolved. And when we can stop that and just be in the I am, everything moves from there. You don't have to do anything except rest in that. And it's so beautiful when we can do that. But we have to stop doing all the doings and honor and give ourselves space and openness, invitation to just be. And that's probably one of the greatest challenges that I see in our physical earthly realm. And everything actually flows from that space. And miracles are actually everyday events that actually just unfold in our presence, in our awareness of just being ourselves without trying to do anything or get anything or go anywhere or do anything. All those things that we've been trained and schooled in the mind. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, that's why I came back, is to resolve everything within me and to help just be in the world. And just by being in the world, it helps other people and whether it's an animal. I've seen incredible, amazing things just with animals, just being. It's that I had never experienced being held or being loved ever in my entire life. Somebody might give you a hug, but that doesn't mean you're going to feel held or loved. And especially in my background, I just never had felt that. And I truly feel that now. And it's with me always. And it's always with us.
Could you summarize those for us if you were to boil them down and each of them down into one sentence?
Okay. The first one would be giving and receiving.
Okay.
What we give out energetically, vibrationally, you're going to feel it back. You're going to feel it. You're not escaping it. So we're giving and receiving. So we're giving and receiving signals. It's one. I guess we're giving and receiving, but we're always going to receive what we just gave out. So it's really hard for me to explain that. If I hurt you, I'm going to feel that hurt. I might justify it and say they deserve that, but that's just the mind stepping in and justifying, but I'm going to feel it. And so just knowing that, and through the mind, we've been taught that give and you shall receive, but you're actually receiving what you're giving. Okay, let's put it that way. That's you're receiving what you're giving. That would be the powerful message, because we're taught what you give, you receive, but what you receive is what you gave.
Very interesting.
It's an energetic loop, and that's what I was shown, energetic, between that person or thing. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's a circular energy being given and receiving. So we're transmitters and receivers. That's what I was shown. So I guess that would be the first wisdom. We're transmitters and receivers of a vibrational energy. Since we're vibrational beings, transmitters and receivers of that energy.
Amazing.
The second one, I would say the I am. We hear a lot about that, but the presence, when we die, we're just going to be that the space of the I am. We're not going to have a body. We're just that awareness. Knowing that presence, I never understood when I would read a book and they would say presence, but that's what they're saying. It's the I am in the Bible, the nowness. That's our existence, our being, knowing that without the mind's interpretations of anything, without any clinging, resisting. And again, that's a hard one to sum up in one sentence. I guess it has been summed up in one sentence before, the I am, the now. But when you feel it, it's ever present, always existing, omnipresent. You're immersed in it. You are it. It's everywhere at all times, in all things.
What you're saying, it's making so many connections in my head, because you're talking about being in the I am without clinging or resisting. And it reminds me a lot of Hindu philosophy, non-doership, not chasing pleasure or avoiding pain, but just accepting everything as it is.
Yes, you're dropping the mind. I can relate it to the frontal lobe area. You can call that the third eye. But until the other chakras are open and flowing, someone's not going to be able to understand that. But yeah, that's total dropping of any story, any memory, any identification with being a personality of any, dropping it all and just being. So that brings me to the fourth one, is the love that immersed me and surrounded and allowed me to surrender into it and merge with it, which it felt just as if I was one with it. As it unfolded, I resisted it at first a little bit. Imagine a big, just golden liquid love surrounding you. And it's different and it's unknown, but it feels comforting and it feels like you're being held and it's safe. And you begin to feel surrendered because it's consistent and it feels good. And so you surrender a little bit more into it and you allow it to have you a little bit more. And the more that you allow it, it's there. It's not pushing on you. You're the open vehicle that's either allowing it through or you're closing it off. And the more that I surrendered into the love, the more it helped, the more it was available to hold me. And the more I surrendered, the more love I felt and the more it held me. And so knowing that love is always there, always holding me and holding each of us, we exist in a sea of love. And like a fish in the water, it's totally unaware that it's in the very existence of its being is flowing through its gills and it's breathing the water. And it's the same with us humans. When I came back and I realized we're immersed in love. It's flooding through us. It's surrounding us. It's everywhere. Our heart is our connection to God, to the very existence of each other and the whole universe. And we're avatars that come here on earth to experience this, to forget who we are. We're playing a peekaboo with ourselves. And it's so beautiful to see it and to understand it and to experience it. And that love is the ever existing, always. It's like, I don't want to say a web, but it's an energetic web of existence that we're all immersed in. And we're just unaware of it, like the fish in the water. And we literally can tap into it, merge with it, and feel held by it. We wouldn't want to like cling to the external world like we do because we already have everything and we know that. And that was also the the I am. I was shown that we already have everything. We already are everything. We have perfect health. We have perfect abundance. We are perfect. And the mind is what gets in the way. And the conditioning needs to be stripped away, resolved. And then we begin to see clearly who we are. And I was given that gift where I wasn't just stripped during my near death, but I got stripped a couple times afterwards. And I wouldn't be surprised if I need to get stripped down another time or two. I'm ready for it now, though. But it's a stripping away of all that we think we know. There's so much. The intuition comes into play with the knowings and the telepathic answers that I was given. And we are so connected to that always and always if we just be still and know that I am God. I am that. And that's the challenge in the human avatar body, is to make that a priority. When we have suffered enough in our human avatar body, we'll really begin to realize how important that is to live our life in this short time in this avatar, and maybe not in this life. That's the unfoldment that's happening for everyone. And that's the beautiful thing. It doesn't matter where we are in life. That's the end game, is to know thyself.
So we have giving and receiving, the I am and the love. And then what was the next one?
Are we on 4?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That was the immersion in the universe. I was the infinite universe, all knowing, ever expanding. I was shown that I was the universe and I was one. There was no separation between anyone or anything. I was literally energetically connected to everything in the infinite universe, the stars, the moon, everything, the blade of grass. I'm not even separated from the so-called mind. Now that's the big one. That was the merging of the mind. The love had merged with the mind. Not a fight. There wasn't a fight with the mind. There was a merging. And now 7 years later, I can observe that was the message. So the 4th one is the merging, the oneness. What we're taught is how to get rid of the mind. A lot of people are talking about how to get rid of the mind. So there is an understanding of the mind is blocking the I am. But what I was shown was that connecting to the love resolves the mind. Fighting anything is what creates contraction in our energy fields of the giving and receiving, and the reactions of the mind come from the contractions in the energy field.
Wow. Okay. You're describing this in a way that's so easy to grasp. Okay. And so then what was the 5th one? Wisdom.
Well, that was a personal wisdom of stop fighting. The no is the contraction, and the no is the fighting, the lack of acceptance of what is, what was in each moment. So the past is the past, and it's not that it happened. How are we relating to it? Are we in the no? I don't want that. I want it to be different. I want to change it. I want to fix it. I want to hate on it. I want it to be different. Or are we just accepting that's what happened? Now what? Now. And simply just merging and accepting, holding the past as it was, like a small child. You don't push the child away and resist it. You embrace it, accept it, where it's at. And so that was the piece of wisdom for my childhood. It was a very clear resolution of what I'd been doing and what not to do. And all of my suffering was from the no and the contractions. And was why I had a heart attack.
Yeah, I remember when I was reading your written story, you made a comment that was really interesting to me where you said that the heart attack had something to do with resisting reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
Contracting.
When we were talking before, I remember you sharing how when you came back from your experience, you felt this love still around you. And then as time went on, you weren't able to connect with it anymore. And you had a revelation as to why that was. Could you share that with us?
Yes. That's perfectly beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. After a time period, I noticed that the intense love that I felt was disappearing. And I was curious, like, where's it going? What's going on? In the meantime, I got sick with cancer. I almost died again. I had sepsis. And I began to realize my son had said a couple things to me. And one of them was, Mom, you're trying to get back to where you were. You're never going to get back there. Meaning I was trying to get back to dying again, to that feeling. And I just thought, wow, okay, so I'm not being present. I'm trying to get somewhere other than where I'm at. And about that same time when I had sepsis and I noticed that the love was disappearing, I realized that there was emotional content that was starting to build up and there was energetic contractions going on in my energy field that I was resisting. And so I began to surrender into the love and get curious with it and kind of have a relationship with it. Okay. And the more that I began to embrace whatever was going through, I mean, I didn't know I had sepsis until I began to allowing myself to die again. This is the way I'm going out. Let's go. And I began to just allow the love to take me over and rest in it. That's when I realized it was my emotional content that I was resisting. So when we're afraid, we're not taught how to feel the fear or to allow the fear to exist. See, the emotions just want to flow through us. It's reactions to the mind and their deep conditioning. So it's a process of paying attention consciously to what's going on. But if we think about our emotions, they're really just, if we think about water can take on many forms. It can take on steam. It can take on blocks of ice. So if you think of your energy field and emotions, we exist in, we'll just say, a sea of water. And I'm relating this to our energy field. And emotions become blocks of ice. You keep collecting the blocks of ice. It's not changing what's there, but it is changing form. So the more that we allow the emotion to flow through, it begins to dissolve those blocks of ice and return back to the source of what it truly is. So the emotions are really love in disguise.
Wow, I never heard it put that way before.
The mind wants to separate things and call the emotion good or bad, but it's actually love.
Wow.
Think of a rainbow. The prism all comes from the same source of white light. It looks separate when it comes out in different colors, but it comes from the same source. The same thing with our emotions. It's all love being reacted and restricted, and then we're fighting it. So what if we can just rest in the love within ourselves and resolve and sit with whatever? So when I'm upset with something or something just doesn't feel up within me, I can sit with it and just ask, is love here now? And I feel my heart just blooming and I can feel the love come over me, and I can feel that particular emotion resolve itself. So it's actually just resolving itself in the energetic field that we are. Because if we open our mind, we're allowing it to happen. We're not trying to make it happen. And that was the gift I was shown. And so again, this was a process for me, a digesting and integration period. And it's been 7 years since I had my near death. And it was through curiosity and intuition that I would learn how to resolve these things within myself. And so that's where the love went. The love was always there, but I was beginning to grasp and cling and contract and build those blocks of ice again. If you're familiar with the chakra system from the Hindu,
Yes.
okay, I used to say it's like a hose. Okay. The flow of love can't get through if there's kinks in the hose. So those energetic blocks are just the mind resisting what is. And so we just stop. And what I find really helpful is just asking, is love here now? And resting in it. Is love available here now? And can I just feel into whatever I'm feeling? If it's fear, uncertainty, terror, and sometimes you just have to sit with it and feel into it as long as you need to. It's actually the wounded part of ourselves that we all experience coming into this earthly realm through childhood that's looking to resolve itself back to love, playing peekaboo with ourselves. The end game is still the same. We're all resolving back to love, back to the Father's house.
Wow. So beautiful. And thank you so much for breaking all that down for us. You have an amazing way of describing things. In your second wisdom, when you experienced the I am state, in your written version, you called that the void, and you said it was the blackness of everything and nothingness. And that's like a paradox. That how would you explain how can it be everything and nothing?
That's a good one. Everything and nothing. Actually, everything contains nothing. The nothingness. Everything contains nothing. The nothingness, the stillness, the void. It's just the pureness of existence itself. Everything and nothing, all at the same time. Creation. Yeah, it's really hard to put in words. And that's what I'm challenged with sometimes. But it's the existence of its existence.
I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza, but he says something very similar to what you said when he said that Jesus created all of his miracles out of that place. And Joe Dispenza, are you familiar with him?
Absolutely. But
Okay.
I've never heard him say that before.
Well, not that exact thing, but he talks about the void and he calls it the field, the unified field. And then he helps people in his meditations to get into that state of consciousness and create changes in their life.
Yes. What's interesting is a couple years ago, I recognized his meditation and I thought, wow, he is actually trying to help people connect to what I experienced.
Yeah, it's amazing. I read a couple of his books, and at the end of one of them, I think it was either Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself or Becoming Supernatural, because those are the two that I read. He said, once you get into this state, you're probably going to find that you don't care about any of the things you thought you wanted anyway, because you just want to be there and experience it.
Right. And you begin to feel and know that you are everything. The only reason we chase after anything is because we feel like we don't have it. It's that lacking feeling that our minds are trained into believing. And that's the setup coming into the third earth dimensional realm, is believing and being trained that we don't have everything. How much money would be made off of if us humans knew that we had everything? Then the consumerism of this world would be like really small.
Yes.
And there would be no profit being made. It's all about following the money.
Yeah.
But when you really think of it that way, it's, knowing that we have everything is the key, the secret. Knowing that we are everything, we have everything. And when we rest in that, it's beautiful because we will make different choices because we won't make things out of fear or lack. We won't do something that we feel like we don't want to do, but we feel like we have to do in order to get it. We won't chase anymore. We'll just know that we have, and we do. It's moving into that awareness of knowing. And I feel like on a vibrational level that we can help each other know that we have, like a tuning fork. And somehow I feel like as I know this, that it will spread out and everyone around me will know. And the world that we live in today, how we're going to end up changing the structures of the world that are built in this 3D reality.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I find that really fascinating. Like, how do we actually create change in the physical world?
Somebody said change begins within me. And when I change, then I allow the world to be as it is, or it begins to vibrate. If we think about the gurus and the masters that go and hide away in the caves, that's what they used to do, and the ashrams, and people would flock thousands of miles away to go be around the gurus and the saints. Well, I have a greater understanding of what that was all about now. They were vibrating at love, and they did alienate the society world to be that. And people knew that there was something about these people that they wanted. And so when we think about that, they were vibrating at a higher rate of speed. And energetically, those other people were picking it up and wanted to hang out with them and to learn and to be. And they could literally, the saints could literally just sit there and be. They could be the I am, the love. And then the problem was those people would feel it and start vibrating. But when they would leave, of course, their stuff is still there, which is exactly what happened to me when I died. And I came back. And then, of course, I was basically wiped. I wouldn't say 100% clean when I died, but there was a great cleanse, a purging who I was, because I did not come back the same person. I did not come back as the same personality as Joe Dispenza would call it. I was a different person when I came back. My personality was different, but the wisdom was there. So the resolution of our emotions is the key. Our own responsibility within ourselves, resolving our own emotional content is how we are going to change the world. Because love is always there. And when I think of the saints and the gurus, they were always available. They were doing their part. But the people that were gathering there were not doing their part. They were relying on an external source to help them. And to some degree they did. But if we don't take responsibility for our own emotional, energetic fields, then it doesn't matter what's happening out there. It's happening inside of us. And so how we can change the world is what I love, what Joe Dispenza is doing, is he's helping us become responsible for our own energetic fields. And that's how we can change the world and the structures that have created this physical world. And it is shifting already. It's already shifting.
Yeah, I have actually thought of one more question that I could ask you. And I asked pretty much everyone this who's had any type of experience with Jesus. I would love to hear your thoughts on Jesus based on your experience on who he is and why he came.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I went to church a lot when I was little. I was forced to go. And then at 14, I had a gun to my head. I didn't understand what God was. I didn't understand what Jesus was. But at 14, I was told what God was, and I got a feeling like humans were trying to make you go to a church in a physical building. I was very sensitive when I was young, and I could pick up things. So I was very confused about who God was, who Jesus was. But at age 14, when I have a gun to my head and I'm getting ready to kill myself, I hear a voice, and the voice says something to me that the personality of Anne totally didn't know. So I put the gun down, made a deal with the voice, and my life changed that week. I made a deal. I would come back the next Thursday and get the gun because I wasn't afraid to die. I was totally at peace with dying. I was done living life suffering. I didn't want to get any older. I didn't see any good coming of it. I just wanted to end it. I wanted to go back home. And I had a feeling that this earth wasn't home to me. And I wanted to go back to where I came from. It wasn't here. I was suffering. So when the voice spoke, I was very curious about it. It spoke softly, kind of like when I died. And the voice said, lay there and take it. Now, I understood, lay there and take it. That was a term, stop fighting, just allow it to be. It was the same soft voice that I heard at 14. That was my beginning of understanding maybe God, you hear God's inside of you. Well, maybe God's closer than that. Maybe I am God. Maybe I am that. So at 14, I couldn't understand it, but as I got older, little bits and pieces. And Jesus, I never really understood him. And we've all heard the story of why he came. In my near death, when I saw the dream, my understanding of Jesus was a man. He came here to show us who we are. People use the word sin. Sin to me feels like emotional, we can call it negative emotional reactions that we place upon ourselves. Jesus talked about love. He talked about, you can also do everything I've done. He was trying to show us the way and give us our power back when he died, because he knew he was going to die. He knew that the human world wasn't ready for awakening. And he knew, I feel like Jesus, he already knew he was coming into this earth realm to show us, and he was willing to do that. It was all set up. When I look back on my near death, and I look back on all of my life suffering led me up to where I am this moment. It was all needed. And then that would probably catapult us into reincarnation. I was having a conversation with my boyfriend about a week ago. And I remember a little girl. I was in the back of a car with a bunch of foster kids, and they were all arguing. We probably just got out of church. You believe in reincarnation? And just a part of me, I didn't know anything about reincarnation, but I felt like I had been here before. And yeah, absolutely. It feels like that makes sense. So what if that's just what Jesus was doing? He was showing us, he already knew. There's different levels of understanding and consciousness that we all live through. He was definitely at a higher consciousness of knowing who he was and the willingness to come here and to show us. And he was afraid of death, but deep in his heart and soul, he knew that was his purpose. He knew that. And the more that we're on this earthly vibration, we can build up some fears of dying. But when we begin to look at life and death and emotional content as the coming and going, there's no grasping and clinging. We can just float in the water of life and allow Muji. Do you know who Muji is? Okay.
Yes, I do.
After I came back, I saw a quote from him. I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. He says, allow what comes to come, allow what goes to go. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
That just really struck me as like, oh my goodness. I understood it because I felt my clinging and grasping to life dissolve when I left my body. It was very clear to me that that's what we're doing in life. So Jesus, I feel, in my understanding, is he came here knowing he was going to be human, but he also knew who he was. And he had I feel like we all have a life purpose. The end game is always to find ourselves back to love, but we're all going to do that in a different avatar suit and different life experiences. But that's the end of the game, is to find yourself. And we're just playing a little peekaboo with ourselves. And Jesus knew this. And he did his best to show us.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And would you like to share with people? I mean, are you comfortable with people reaching out to you? I should ask first.
Absolutely.
Would you like to share with people anything that you're doing, any projects that you've done, and how they can get in touch with you?
Actually, this is my first podcast, and I don't really have a website or anything. I'm working on that. My fiance, I just got my ring.
Congratulations. It's beautiful.
It is. I love it. Who would have ever thought? I've never been married, and I never thought that I would die and come back and understand the true understanding of communion with another person. And that's the way I see it. But I would love to, if people have questions, if we did another podcast. I don't have a website. So if I can give you my email, if people have questions that way, they can email me.
Okay.
You can give people my email.
Okay. So I'll put that in the description. Are there any final words that you want to say?
I would love to interact with anyone who is curious about how to resolve emotional content that they're having or experiencing. And I feel like that's my place where I feel like I can help people if they're interested. And I feel like I'm ready.
Wonderful. And I think that's so needed right now.
Yeah.
With everything happening in the world.
Yeah.
People are seeing an intensity of those emotions coming up and moving through. I know I have been. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anne-Marie. This has been wonderful.
Yes. Thank you. It's been my honor.
Thank you for watching the Love Covered Life podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and comment with your thoughts and opinions, and check the description box for the links to my free community where I share lots of resources, my Pay What You Can community where we do classes and challenges together, my TikTok, Instagram, my Clips channel, and lovecoveredlife.com where I share my paintings. Thank you so much for your support.